What are you seeing out of Sam Darnold right now that you saw a month ago?
I have to give credit where credit is due. Despite Rich Eisen's skepticism surrounding our Minnesota Vikings, he continues to cover them and have discussions like this one.
Well, I think it's really a discussion around narratives going into it, right? Because I'm saying I'm not surprised at what I'm seeing. Everyone else is surprised at what they're seeing. So I'm seeing the same thing you're seeing, right? Touchdown passes and not dumb turnovers and accuracy. So all that stuff we're seeing. But I think the conversation is really about the narrative coming into it, which is why people would be surprised or caught off guard or wrong. And if you think about how opinions are formed on, let's just say quarterbacks, because we're talking about, there's really like two parties that represent that, right? So you've got the media and you've got fans. And so, Rich, I think about you personally. I mean, you've been in this business, 30 years, and you understand football at such a higher level than a casual fan. And you watch it, you study it, you call it. I think about the umpteen hours you and just Coach Prime have spent talking ball in a car service, on an airplane, in a production meeting, and fill in hundreds of other people who are experts at you. So in the media, you and your peers, like, you're getting such good information input, right? And stories and context. Fans don't really get that as much. And so what ends up happening is overwhelmingly, I think fans and media draw on the most available data, which is just stats, right? 52%, 71%, 6 touchdowns, 3 picks. And so what happens is fans and media and as a whole, a lot of times gravitate towards the stats, and the stats just don't really tell the picture. As I look at Sam's success, I can't tell you off the top of my head what his stats are. I haven't even looked. And I'm not just saying that. Like, I don't know. I don't really pay attention to it because that never really tells me the story.
I couldn't agree more. The narrative surrounding Sam Darnold has spoiled most people's opinions of him. That bias leads idiots like Nick Wright to say things like, Sam Darnold is on pumpkin watch. What confuses me is the stupidity or blatant intellectual dishonesty. I guarantee we all have stories of friends, family, or acquaintances that have turned things around, in small situations as well as big situations. From the group partner that surprised you in school to the friend that changed their life around. The evidence is abundant that people can persevere and succeed when it looked like only failure was to come. My belief in Sam and his journey to the Vikings gave me hope as a fan.
I think what with Sam is, and you see this with other people that I said we're going to do good. I've been confident from day one that Jayden Daniels was going to start off hot. Is you look at, like, what have they done in their past to set them up for success in this situation? And I go back a couple of years ago. Sam was playing in Carolina. They started off 3-0. He had Christian McCaffrey. Joe Brady was his OC. And he was playing some of the best ball in the league. And then I went to the game at Houston, it's a Thursday night game, and McCaffrey went down. And another injury, and the corner got hurt. And then it just kind of snowballed and fell out of control. And then we just look at Sam Darnold's stats at the end of the year, and they say he's a bum. And then you look at last year, getting to sit not just behind Brock Purdy, but be in that San Francisco building. And as a fan, there's no stats that are going to tell me how much better Sam Darnold got last year and how much he extracted from that. But I can tell you, and think about it like this, Rich. Let's say your son's going to be the 3rd pick in the draft. And I said, hey, before he plays his first year, I'm going to let him pick a coordinator to sit in the room with and learn from for a year. And I'm going to guarantee that he's going to be in a locker room for a whole year with a Super Bowl contender, with a team that makes it to the Super Bowl. You would jump at the opportunity to put your son in that situation. And that's what Sam, the former number 3 pick in the draft, got to do last year. He got to be not just around the Niners and all that, but learn a whole year, go to the University of Kyle Shanahan. And then he got to see, Brock Purdy, not just have a great year, but what he did in the playoffs, everything to get to the Super Bowl. And so all of that contact, all of that exposure and experience comes together with somebody who has also dealt with getting punched in the stomach in New York for years in the media. And he's an internet, they're making fun of him. Like, he's got all that. And so you drop him in this situation. which has no coaches with job security issues. So they're just doing what makes sense. They're just making logical, smart decisions, and a bunch of good players in the huddle and no expectations going into it. And poof, here we are.
And there you have it. As a Vikings fan, we don't get a lot of good receipts. So thank you to Rich Eisen and Jordan Palmer for bringing us this conversation. Let me know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss videos like this. Until next time. At number 9, the Commanders. What a thrilling ride it has been for Caleb Williams. He has done a spectacular job at keeping his promise to his punter. The Bears have been lights out with 23 scoring drives, and get this, Caleb Williams has only 19 incompletions through 4 games. As they say in Chicago, bear down. I don't know what came over me there. Sorry about that. Jayden Daniels has been everything that most people thought Caleb Williams was supposed to be. He has shown remarkable grit, perseverance, and a knack for winning. After the Week 1 beating from the Bucs, I did not see this coming. I saw a lot of issues on defense, but they have shown tremendous growth and have bent, not broken thus far this season. And as a result, they make the biggest jump this week in my power rankings. Hey, what's going on, Vikings fans? Welcome to Purple and Gold Bars. I'm your host, Supreme. We made it to Week 5 and my favorite new pastime, crystal ball reading. I continue to practice, and this week, I don't know why, but I keep seeing squirrels on a train. If you know what that means, let me know in the comments below. Let's get right into it. Vikings are kicking off. Looks like the Jets are going to take it out the end zone. He's at the 20, gets roughly to the 27. Oh wait, Vikings are signaling that it's their ball. What happened? Looks like the impact of the hit knocked it out. Vikings ball. Here we What's going on? Check, check. Mic check. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Everything is good. Oh, you know what? I should probably grab the mic. That's probably why it sounds so quiet. Oh, man. What a terrible. I'm starting live. Don't even have the mic in place. Everything but. Oh, my gosh. Hopefully that's better. All right. What's going on, Lefty? Welcome. What's going on? Just want to do a little bit of a game preview and just kind of talk football a little bit and just kind of go over some things that I had in mind. So let's just get right into it. I wanted to talk over, give some, cover some teams as well as give my first impressions, on my impressions on some of the teams after 4 weeks. First and foremost, I want to start with Jayden Daniels and the Washington Commanders. They've been balling out. They've been playing great. I still have concerns with their secondary. After the first game, I definitely did not see this coming, but you got to give credit where credit is due. They're putting in the work, they're developing, and they continue to grow. So that's exactly what you want to see. And it has to be a good time to be a Washington fan right now. And over the next few years, sky's the limit for Jayden. And it started for me with his when I did my assessment, my pre-draft assessment. I was really shocked by Jayden Daniels' work ethic and his preparation that he goes through week to week. If I remember correctly, they did a little spotlight on him at the halftime or during one of the pre-draft. Either way, he sat down and talked, and they kind of covered everything about him. And I saw that video, and it kind of blew me away at how mature and how hardworking he is. And I think that's the reason why he is succeeding this so far in the season. So going into that draft, I would have been really happy if Jayden Daniels had fallen into our lap over JJ McCarthy, even though I really wanted JJ from the beginning. There was just something about him when I looked through all the quarterbacks. I watched a lot of the quarterbacks' highlights and the college tape for Caleb Williams, Jayden Daniels, JJ McCarthy. And there was a lot to like. And for some reason, JJ just stood out to me. Drake May, I looked into that. I watched, but for me, I was ecstatic when we got JJ. And but now it's 4 weeks into the season. We know what happened with JJ and Jayden Daniels and the Washington Commanders have been lights out so far. You know, it's too early to tell what this Washington team will do despite this hot start. But what I am a firm believer is that people or athletes generally show you who they are immediately after you meet them, or in athletes' case, you know, right off the first practice of the first game. And you know, regardless of struggles and whatnot, you see the potential. And Jayden Daniels, not only is he a really accurate thrower of the ball, he's a great runner. He's doing all the right things, and his preparation is what's setting him apart because he just looks poised in there. He looks the most prepared out of all the rookies, in my opinion. So, regardless of the outcome of this season, I'm excited to see what Jayden Daniels has become or will become. And you know, it just kind of reminds me, like or like I was saying, that players and teams show you who they are, right? And just like a running back that comes out of college that has elite vision, you can immediately see that right off the bat, despite any struggles they may have, whether that's offensive line or anything like that, or with a linebacker. If they're hungry, if they're relentless, they play with high energy. You can see that from the first time they hit the field. They crash on the ball, you know, and they hustle on every play. And regardless of the outcome, you can just tell who they are. And that's, for me, Jayden Daniels has already proven to me that he's a franchise quarterback. He deserves more coverage, and I think after 3 weeks, a lot of people have definitely started to pay attention to him, and I only wish him the best. You know, just like when you have such raw talent like that, you know, you just need some coaching, or just kind of guided in the right direction. That way, it doesn't veer off too far one way or another, and just keeps on that path. And I'm really excited for what Washington and Jayden Daniels has in the future. Moving on to Baker Mayfield and the Bucks. First and foremost, what a hell of a game on Thursday night. I've watched it already, the full game, and then the condensed version twice. And just to kind of, it was man, if that game would have happened in the playoffs, that would have been an instant classic. Kirk Cousins throws for 509 yards in prime time. You know, when everybody's been clowning on him for years that he's not clutch and he can't win a prime time game. But you know what? He came to Minnesota. He had a great team, great, you know, supporting cast, and he learned how to win in prime time, apparently. And he came out strong. This game, I feel that was like his come out party, because that was the best I've seen Kirk this season. You could see that, like, that first game, maybe it was rust, maybe it was just the game plan. Maybe they only had, because I feel like he was only in shotgun, if I remember correctly, in that first game. Never did like much, but as the season has progressed, maybe the game plan has been, you know, let's just get through a game in shotgun, let's just test it out, let's just not rush it. And he looks to be doing good. Classic Kirk out there. Late interception, but a ton of yards, and that game-winning drive. It felt like watching a Minnesota Vikings game from 2022. It was insane. It was incredible. So lots of props to Kirk, because I've been a Kirk guy from before we drafted, or from before we traded for him. I really, despite being extremely happy that we moved on, he served his purpose, and he was he brought stability to the quarterback position, because I remember what it was like to go from Christian Ponder to Matt Castle to Teddy Bridgewater to Sam Bradford to everything, right? It was just instability, and it went from like terrible Christian Ponder did have his games, but mediocre quarterback play regardless of his highs, to where we got with Kirk, where it was consistent for the last few years, and it felt like that consistency allowed the offense to actually progress. JJ's progressed nicely since that time. It's given time for us to find our identity in a lot of ways on offense. And when it comes to defense, throughout that whole time we've had in the last few years, we've moved on from Ed Donatel and now have, in my opinion, one of the best defensive coordinators in the league. Only him and Spagnuolo in Kansas City. Those are the only two guys, in my opinion, that really have their own level. Definitely different philosophies, different style, but like they are definitely on their own level. And it's incredible to have that type of caliber defensive coordinator on the Vikings. Ollie, sorry guys, my little man thinks he's 10 feet tall. But going back to Thursday night's game and why I wanted to move in to talk about Baker Mayfield and the Bucks, because like it felt like immediately on what things that were trending was that, here we go, Bucks, it was all the doom and gloom. And I started seeing videos coming out, comments in the highlights of that game. We're starting to really seem like people were starting to doubt Baker Mayfield. Yesterday's sports radio or sports talk shows had questions like, how much do you trust the Bucks and Baker? And I'm thinking to myself, like, what is there to worry about? Like, they're exactly where they should be. They're a year into the Baker Mayfield thing, right? So he's already passed and proved that he should be their quarterback, and he is going to be going forward through this transitionary stage that they're in right now, where they've clearly shown that they can win games in the post or in the regular season. Now they're just transitioning into a team that needs to learn how to win in the postseason. In games like Thursday night, for both teams, was a playoff-like game, right? So it was a great opportunity for both teams to go up against another playoff team that's on the up and coming, or the come up, or whatever the kids say these days. But it didn't disappoint. It delivered huge. Both teams came out to play. Baker Mayfield had crazy stats. I got the stats let me share that right now. Let's move to here. So yeah, Baker Mayfield, look at the rating, 3 touchdowns, 19 for 24, no interceptions. Incredible. He took a sack, 137.5 rating. Like, the thing that I've been seeing a lot of people criticize, he threw for 180 yards, but sometimes you take what the defense gives you, right? So if they're giving you 30, 40-yard passes through the air for massive chunks, then yeah, you take that and you end up with 509 yards. Or sometimes a lot of those yards come off the catch, the yards after the contact, right? So those yak yards play a massive factor. And for me, I see an efficient game out of Baker Mayfield. I see a team that went toe-to-toe with another playoff team or potential playoff team. And they really went at it. And you couldn't, if you're a Bucks fan, despite the loss, I'd be extremely happy, right, and optimistic, because it's like we didn't fold. We did everything. We didn't lose. We didn't shoot ourselves in the foot and lose the game that way. Everything kind of went the way that it need to. We just need to sometimes execute a little bit better in certain situations. And then that added, that old cliche saying of learning how to win, or, learning how to finish games strong. He never even had a chance in overtime to do anything, right? So if he, if I was a Bucks fan, I'd be extremely happy. I don't understand all this doubt that's setting in people with Baker Mayfield and the Bucks. I still think that they're going to be a playoff team. I think that they're very similar to where the Lions were last year, right? A lot of people knew that they, had a really good team and they could do a lot of damage, but did they give them the credit that they thought they would the entire season, especially at the beginning? It wasn't until I want to say week 3, 4, 5, somewhere around there is where it really started to pick up on their hype and the positivity towards the Lions. And then there was that game against the Ravens, where the Ravens and Lamar Jackson, another really, really good scheme, like a maybe a little bit of gimmicky, but either way, they're like an incredibly tough, resilient team. They can put up points fast, and before you know it, you get punched in the mouth by them, like you could potentially get punched in the mouth in the playoffs. So last year, when they lost that game and the Ravens went into their house and just completely outclassed them and caught them off guard. I remember some doubt in things, and they made it to the conference game, lost in the conference game to the 49ers, right? And they were so close. So the Bucks are going to have these ups and downs. They already had a previous playoff game with the Lions earlier in the season, and in that playoff game, they beat the Lions. So they're 1-for-1 in my books for playoff games, and then their progress towards winning in the playoffs. So exactly where you want to be when you're developing team, where you're a young developing team, developing that ability to be or becoming a perennial playoff team is what I'm trying to say. But I would not be upset with them, and that's why I just kind of wanted to comment on that because it was a hell of a game, and there were a lot of beautiful accurate passes by Baker Mayfield last night. He was definitely Chef Baker last night. He wasn't bacon. So incredible. I'd have doubts, and I might agree with some of these segments and stuff. If maybe Baker completely melted down, if he threw for a bunch of yards and as many interceptions as well as touchdowns, or maybe lost a bunch of fumbles, or maybe messed up on some crucial drives, just completely sold out. But they didn't. The team didn't melt down. He didn't melt down. They had a great game, and it's just learning, right? So now they have a game like that, of that quality, where they performed that well to draw on and look at what went right to continue to learn how to win. So I don't think I wonder who they're facing next. But oh wait, hold on, I'm trying to click on the Streamlabs thing. Falcons, and look at Kirk Cousins, man. What a hell of a game. What else can you say about Kirk? He, always wants to go out there and prove that he can be Superman, and he can take those glasses off and put the cape on, but just to prove that he can win in primetime and win in the clutch. Thursday was another step for him proving that. 42 out of 58, ton of throws. Gosh darn it, man. It hits hard it hits that hard every single time I see that. 58 throws, man. Holy moly. I can only feel comfortable with that many attempts when it's Brett Favre. You know what I mean? Or just legendary gunslingers. You know what I mean? That's when I feel 58. Kirk, as much as I love him, he's no legendary gunslinger yet, but 509 yards, 8.8 average yards per catch, 4 touchdowns, 1 late interception, trying to make things happen, which in my opinion, it's not that big of a deal. Even though I rag pretty hard on Jordan Love and the Packers for doing that. It's a little bit of a double standard that I hold, but you know what? It's the Packers, and we're Vikings fans, so sometimes you got to let them know. And but for me, this is Falcons, so it doesn't really matter. They put up a hell of a fight, 114 passer rating, so you cannot be disappointed in that. Needless to say, I think it's a little bit premature on the doubt and the doom and gloom with them. But next, let me get this out. I feel like this is something that we need to talk about. The next team that I want to talk about, where is it? Here we go. The Denver Broncos. My God. According to Perna, the new worst win. Oh my gosh. It was an ugly win. Like, there's no denying it. I'm going to confess, I couldn't watch the whole full version of it. I've only been able to watch the 40-minute condensed because it is a hard watch. But when I looked in some of the stats, I started to realize, maybe come to a realization or maybe an epiphany. These Denver Broncos have only allowed 13.8 points per game, which is better than the Vikings, right? So kind of made me think everything else is like a dumpster fire. So when you look past the dumpster fire and you look at some of the good things, third in opposing points per game is pretty huge, So it got me thinking, is this a statistical anomaly? Or is it a young defense or defensive scheme starting to emerge in Denver? Denver is known for good defenses in recent years. So do the Bears have, do the Broncos do the Bears? Do the Broncos have something here? Or is it an anomaly? Let me know what you guys think. But say what you want to say about Bo Nix and that garbage human being that is Sean Payton. I wouldn't be surprised that if in a couple of years they're actually, they develop into a good team. It starts with defense, right? Like, we're Vikings fans. We know what it's like to, come out the mud and do that through defense. And a lot of that comes from getting, young guys that are easily acquirable, especially when you're going to be not having the greatest records, getting some good young defensive pieces, if they're hungry, if they play hard, you could really quickly build up a solid defense that kind of gives your offense, your developing quarterback that is Bo Nix, time to develop. He doesn't have to be always in a game where he's got to throw, he's got to looking at the scoreboard. He's like, man, I got a 3-score lead to deal with. Maybe it's only like a 10-point lead or something like that, something where it's manageable for a young rookie like that. Maybe that'll help him gain confidence when that he's got the ability to go out there and go, what, if I mess up this drive, my defense is going to back me up and then I'm going to get another shot at it. So maybe will be good for him, but time will tell. We don't know if they're going to be good yet, but I think it's good signs because on top of that, look at this. This is crazy. They're second in sacks behind us as well, which is pretty crazy. So I think when there's two sparks, I think or where there's smoke, there's fire, whatever they want to say, whatever that saying is. But maybe there's something here, and wild. That would be pretty crazy. But next thing I wanted to kind of move around to kind of give some props to some players throughout the league. I want to start with Jordan Mason from the San Francisco 49ers. I know I joked around a little bit. I know one of my videos I said we're going to make him look like a rookie. After 4 games, he's done very, very well. He's second in rushing only to King Henry. That is quite the accomplishment, regardless of whether he has a great O-line or a great team to run from. He's a rumbler, man. That guy falls forward for an extra 5-6 yards, and we know what that's like. So props to him. I'm extremely happy to see that he's doing so well. Now, if you look at his stats alone, or maybe let me go back one. When we look at on the year, he's got his 4 games played, yards per carry is 4.9, pretty good. averaging 111 yards per game. He's got 3 rushing touchdowns on the year. He's also got 57 yards. He's averaging 9.5 yards on the ground, I think. Oh, no, that's through the air. Wow, he's actually, wow, that's pretty good. So that screen game is looking really good. Yeah, he's average reception yards about 14 games. So he's chipping in. I think he really needs to be, given a lot of respect and props, because he's done quite the job stepping in for CMC, which arguably is the best running back in football. When healthy, outside of Derrick Henry, is there really anybody that you can honestly say is better? He can literally do every run in the book, inside, outside. He's incredible in the screen game, and he can catch really well. He's got incredible yards after catch ability. He's elusive. He's just incredible. And Jordan Mason has stepped in his absence, and it hasn't been a reason why the 49ers have struggled or anything like that. He's done a great job, and all the props to him. Next, let me marvel a little bit here on where the reception leaders on Nico Collins and what Nico Collins and Juwan Jennings are doing. Good gravy. Look at these guys, man. Nico Collins is definitely setting himself apart. Is proving that he is a superstar, that he is one of the best receivers in the league. Incredible job he's doing. He's a beast. He's got a big body. He's a big bodied receiver with really sure hands. Crisp route running. He's always trying to get those extra yards. Like, he's just a great receiver that any team, like, I don't care which fan base you are, you would want him on your team. Like, if it was JJ and Nico, I would not be upset, right? Like, even though Jordan Addison is incredible, and I wouldn't trade our receiving room, but in a hypothetical situation, any team would go, wow, if I had that duo, that gives me like freaking Ocho Cinco and Terrell Owens freaking vibes there. Like, how good that could be, right? So, like, any team would just die to have him. So, incredible job by him. Juwan Jennings, what an incredible job in the absence of CNC. Deebo Samuel, what a hell of a game! 75 yards, 3 touchdowns. I think I can probably just look. Whatever. But anyways, incredible job he's doing to make up for Deebo Samuel missing, as well as the workload that Christian McCaffrey puts in, because he's mostly a slot receiver, right? So a lot of those passes that CMC would go on the wheel right, or the drag coming out of the backfield off the chip or anything like that, he serves that same. He's in that same area where CMC would be, so he's picking up the slack. And incredible jobs to him, or incredible props to him. He deserves to be looked at as one of as an all-pro receiver. Definitely. Like, man, imagine having that kind of depth. To lose Deebo Samuel, one of the most dynamic playmakers in the league, and your third stringer or your second receiver steps up in like that, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think he's third string. He's the second, but they call him JJ there, like we call Jettas. But incredible job. That brings me to other receivers that I'm just gonna mention that are also setting themselves apart. Malik Neighbors, Drake London, Marvin Harrison Jr., Jaden Reed, and Rashid Shaheed are future superstars, in my opinion. They have done a lot in these first few weeks to kind of solidify themselves that they're here, and they're damn good. It's awesome to see young players and some crafty veterans getting their due props and doing excellent to start the year. Honorable mentions before we move on to Vikings Jets. Geno Smith, what a hell of a start to the season. A quiet 3-1. You know, a lot of people are criticizing the quality of the opponents, but you know what? You play what the league puts in front of you. So he's and what a game against the Lions. You know what I mean? What true grit and resilience. They didn't give up, and he kept throwing. He looks incredible in the pocket. His footwork is crisp. His decision making is crisp. His ball, he throws such a nice ball. Man, what an amazing story there. The first reclamation project, I guess, in modern history or modern time right now, I guess in the 2020s. So excited for him. Alvin Kamara, what a beast. Is it 2019 or what a year is it? This man is rumbling. I have never seen that ability before by anybody that can just like ragdoll. He's got like freaking like the craziest dynamic real life physics or whatever they claim in these football games or these video games. He's got that setting set up to like cheat mode because like he takes hits and he just keeps going. He spins out of things and you're like, how did he get those extra 25 yards? And he looks like he literally shaved I don't know how many years off his life. He's playing like a young man. Huge props to Alvin Kamara. Clint Kubiak, that I believe started with us as a quarterbacks coach or offensive coordinator, assistant, something like that. But either way, it's awesome to see that the products of our environment are also doing good. And what a hell of a start for them down there. Kyler Murray coming back after his first full season after the massive injury that he came back from last year late in the season, doing great. Looks like he is just the human joystick out there like before. Derek Carr, what a start to his season. He looks like he's kind of turned back the clock in the same way that Alvin Kamara is. What are they drinking down there in New Orleans? Or is it the excitement to have a new coordinator like Clint Kubiak, and that optimism and that extra oomph or effort that you put into when you have belief in yourselves. Regardless, those two guys are doing amazing. And then Andy Dalton, like what a situation to be thrown into, right? Everybody the whole freaking house is burning down around you. They say get in there and do your best to put out the fire. And in week one, in his first game this year, not week one, I mean, he throws for 3 touchdowns and over 300 yards. Crazy story. It was he couldn't complete the win against the Bengals last week, but he had a great game regardless, and it was a valiant attempt. It was the Bengals that he was playing, right? Either way, he did a great job. So Andy Dalton, man, the red rifle, man, even if it's a little rusty and it may have been downgraded from a 45 caliber rifle to a 22 caliber, he is shooting and firing on all cylinders, man. Mad props to him. And those are just some of the guys and the players, the teams that are doing really, really well this year. But it's time to get into it, guys. We're going to get into breaking down Vikings Jets. So I want to start basically the breakdown that I had planned today. I want to go over a few highlights to kind of identify a lot of things that I think that we should be aware of as fans, and kind of be knowing going into the game to kind of base your judgment on what's going to happen. The first clip I want to start with is from ESPN. I believe it's let me see here. I believe it's, oh my gosh, his name is totally blanking me right now. He was the Lions' backup quarterback for a while for Stafford. Either way, him and Devin or Jason McCourty, one of the McCourty twins is on there, and they kind of break it down real good, and I'll kind of pause and go through it, hopefully if I can in real time, or maybe we'll talk it over after the clip. But I think they have some good points and some things that we can talk about. So here we go.
Rodgers has been great against zone defenses this season, posting a QBR of 68, which ranks 6th in the NFL. He's got a QBR of 38 against man defense. Good news for Rodgers. The Vikings run zone at the highest rate in the league. Bad news is Minnesota has allowed an NFL best 20 QBR with zone this season. They've been so difficult to deal with. One thing the Jets might need to get sorted out is that cadence issue that we've heard a lot about this week.
Yes, we have.
We got to figure it out. Whether or not we're good enough to handle all the or ready to handle all the cadence. Cadence had not been an issue all camp. Felt like our operation had been operating pretty good.
The cadence specifically, Robert said that might be something you guys have to dial back a little bit.
I love this answer.
What you think could potentially help the situation?
It's one way to do it. The other way is hold them accountable.
We'll continue doing.
I have to pause it there because that is a great line in the casual demeanor of A-Rod. And it's like, what are you talking about? We're not giving out here participation trophies out here. We're not freaking, this isn't, what is this? This is a merit-based league. We're competing against the best of the best. Yes, we hold them accountable. That's the right answer. And, but yeah, we'll finish with this one and then.
The same things we've been doing. We show it, we talk about it, we address it when it happens in the practice field, and like I said, it hadn't been an issue with regards to pre-snap, and our pre-snap operation and our cadence system hadn't been an issue. Obviously, it wasn't good on Sunday, but I'm not worried about it. There is no cadence issue. There never was a cadence issue. It was created. Aaron and I are fantastic. Love the guy.
I mean, just the
Oh my gosh, I'll pause right there. Just because I want to comment on that, I know the media is blowing it up a little bit out of proportion. But where there's smoke, there's fire, right? And I don't think it's like extreme and the whole house is burning down, but there's a little bit of the dysfunction there within the Jets organization. They've been stale. Their offense has been stagnant. The first few games, they've shown flashes right against the Patriots where A-Rod looked like vintage A-Rod, right? So, but regardless of those flashes, the majority of the time they've been really dysfunctional and stale. So I think that works to our advantage. And let's see what Devin McCourty has to say, because he has some really good points that I want to highlight.
Evolution of that, throughout the week.
Great friends.
Fascinating. Yeah, there was that sideline interaction before. Listen, it's competitive. We get it. All right, Jason, you played in this Flores defense in New England. How important is Rodgers' cadence against that system?
It's everything. Everything he does before the snap. I remember playing against this guy in 2018.
B-Flow's been doing this thing for a while.
All the conversations you have to have with Rodgers. We first implemented this where everybody's walking around the line of scrimmage. You don't know who's coming. This is 2018. We looked at Rodgers and we were like, all right, when he takes his hands out of his warmer, that's where we're going to go. You're going to see Devin McCourty right there. He looks like he's getting out, like we're going to go drop back and play. Then next thing you know, ball snaps, we're going with an all-out blitz. This is in the first quarter. He throws a long ball, nobody's home. All right, we're shutting this guy outfit down. Gets to about the second, third quarter, and Rodgers starts to figure things out. Brings the formation closer. And you have this wily vet at the bottom. It's like, it has to come out quick. No, it doesn't. They've let everybody in the block. 50 yards later, I'm getting beat. And I'm looking at my brother and every other person. Y'all all blitz. Y'all can't get home. Somebody hit his arm, do something. And this was back in 2018 where we were going with this max blitz look and doing all these things. Now, the difference Dan nowadays is Flo isn't playing man-to-man behind all of that. He's playing a lot more zone in that Vikings defense. Go ahead. What you got?
I've got questions.
Let me pause that.
Specifically, Robert.
No, let me
put his hands back in his hand.
Well, no, I totally.
Rodgers, and you're like, all right, when he takes
out of his hand, were you right?
Okay, so he just asked something there. I'll rewind it. But the point I want to make there is on the evolution of Brian Flores. He just said it there. He used to play a lot more man behind his disguise instead of now where he plays a lot more cover in like zone blitzes, right? So he does play some man, but what was my train of thought? Yeah, but the point I'm trying to make is that Brian Flores has been evolving for quite some time now. And it seems like he's had this like mad scientist kind of view of defense and how it should be played for some time. And he's slowly been evolving that train of thought. You see it there, how they were doing a lot of the crowding around the line, walking, making it seem, disguising everything like they're gonna. In that situation, they kind of did the opposite of what we do, right? Where we pretend like we're gonna do the whole we're gonna blitz, we're all coming, and then three of us dropping into coverage. That one, it looked like they made they made A-Rod think that he was going to drop back into coverage first. And so that made him think, oh, if he's just going to blitz, like it totally changed his decision making there. And he ended up blitzing, which made him throw the ball into essentially the ground because nobody was there or even defenders, right? So regardless, he missed. And that's just something of a factor that Brian Flores has only gotten better at doing. We've seen it through the last 4 weeks, and I think it's going to continue this week, and it's going to give Aaron Rodgers continue to give him problems because, like he said there, it wasn't until the second, third quarter where he started to figure it out and he made a game of it. And I believe they won that game, like they'll mention here in a moment. So even I don't know if that was the only game. So if that's the only game, I guess I can fact check that later. Brian Flores 1-0 on as far as we know, 1-0 against A-Rod, right? So basically just wanted to say how awesome our defense is, and it's a different version. So, but like A-Rod proved there, he can process pretty quick, and he can. That's the fear, right? So here we go.
Early on,
that first
there was a point in the fourth quarter where Rodgers is back there. He has his hands in his hand warmer. He takes him out. My brother, Devin McCourty, and Deron Harmon sprint to the half. Aaron Rodgers starts laughing at us.
Put his hands back in his hand.
That's brutal. That's why he's the boogeyman.
Come on out, fellas. He got us. Come on out.
Hey, we're caught. Everybody, come on. Just line up.
I mean, like, it's like a pitcher tipping pitches, but, like, you don't normally see it get figured out on the other end. They're like, wait, what are they seeing? Really fast, though, you guys won that game.
We did win that game. I made a few plays, so I know that was a bad play. I made a few plays in the game. We
set the record straight.
That was a great tape. That was a great tape.
Me now?
Yeah, good luck.
I got to follow that. So if you had to ask me the one defense in the NFL that you have to your point, J-Mac, use cadence as a weapon to get information, it's the Vikings. 100%. If you think that you're just going to go there and figure it out at the line, good luck. And this is why. J-Mac, it's similar to what you're talking about. Everyone's standing up right now. There's 11 guys walking around. There's 2 guys out of 11 that have their hand in the dirt. Everyone else is roaming. So if you don't think that you're going to use cadence as a weapon, because it goes from I don't know to what we call a Tampa 2 defense, it's only 3 guys rushing, but 8 guys in coverage. You play way sped up as a quarterback, and instead of finding an open window, you just get the ball down and it's 3rd and long. This one's absurd to me. All 11 are at the line of scrimmage. All 11. There's, again, 3 people that have their hands in the dirt. As a quarterback, you're like, what is this defense? It spins to 2 deep safeties, man coverage underneath, so you have nowhere to throw the football. And by the way, the right tackle is now getting beat in a one-on-one blocking situation, even though there's only 4 guys rushing. So I think Aaron's ability to use that cadence and get the defense to declare with a safety running back, even if he doesn't know what everybody's doing, he can just subtract, okay, you can't do that. And then he's going to go, well, that person has to go to a different location. So the best chance the Jets have to win is Rodgers and his cadence this weekend.
Yes. And
incredibly good point by Dan Orlovsky. I wholeheartedly agree. That's why in my preview I said, after we won the 49ers game, this was the first game that I was like, okay, this is going to be difficult because we were basically just facing young quarterbacks, right? CJ Stroud, second year's quarterback. Jordan Love, this is technically his second year after sitting behind, even though he did sit behind. So he is the product of better coaching development than other younger quarterbacks that are in the situation. But it's still a thing of like, when you haven't seen it before, it's going to be very difficult to adjust. So this is the Jets game was the first game that I pegged that was going to be difficult. And needless to say, after what Dan Orlovsky just said there, the ability to just analyze what's going on, if he can see, like he pointed out there, that guy has to drop back. So that means he's not blitzing. It's just a process of elimination for him. So, and he's been doing it for a long time. So that's the thing that is a concern. But I'll talk later on why I think the Vikings still are going to take the win.
And the cadence will be incredibly important. The other part of this offense, which we already talked about, is how simple it is. Garrett Wilson also talked about this offense being simpler than he's seeing from other NFL offenses, because in this day and age of Shanahan and Kevin O'Connell's and Mike McDaniels, they're so pre-snap. There is so much, and we've talked about it ad nauseum on this show, of how the play call sets up the players to win. That is not how Aaron Rodgers plays.
Correct.
It's not how guys like Tom Brady play, because they can sit back in the pocket and say, hey, I don't care what the defense is doing. Go get to the spot. And depending on where the defender is or where the zone ends up shaking out, I'll put the ball exactly where it needs to be.
So you think it's a good thing or a bad thing?
I think for this week, it will be a good thing, because what Flores has done is he has broken the rules that we have typically saw from defensive coordinators and how they set up pressure, how the coverage is set on the back end, because he's had to, because the Shanahan system did the same thing offensively. It broke the rules where it didn't make sense. So to counter that, he's now throwing those same defenses at him where it's hard for them to figure out. And it's also breaking their new set of rules, where the old school rules now will say, look, you're in this zone. As long as I'm protected, again, Lazard, Wilson, whoever.
But that's the caveat, Hawk.
Incredible point. He makes an incredible point about the evolution of Brian Flores' defense. He has tried to flip it around where the offenses were in control with the West Coast offense, the Shanahan family offense, I guess you could call it at this point, is what it's being designated. Sean McVay, Shanahan, right? The West Coast system. With all the pre-snap motions, it forces the defense to show their hand, right? So when you see that motion go by and the corner doesn't follow him, you already know that it's not man, right? And then it's just identifying what type of coverage it is. And then the better you are, like an Aaron Rodgers, a Peyton Manning, a Tom Brady, at doing all that pre-snap and and still getting the ball off with a second or two left, it just kills. And Brian Flores has been trying to flip it on the offenses where, you know what, we're going to make you think everything except for the thing that's going to happen. And then we're going to force you to actually analyze everything like you used to before the ball was snapped, pre-snap, doing it after the fact. And it's putting these offenses on notice. We've quickly dismantled three of the best teams in the NFL, three playoff teams that people were putting down as their Super Bowl contenders. So incredible job by Brian Flores. So again, the edge still goes to him, in my opinion, and over the Jets offensive coordinator.
As long as I'm protected.
Of course.
You might
they have to figure out who's coming and who's not and block it up.
That's the challenge. And I think, to your point, like Flores calls defense like offensive coordinators. You know, he tries to get you to do the things that he wants you to do.
He just said it played. He just said it.
I understand what you're saying with the standstill, simple part of it. But if they're having the same struggles cadence-wise of last weekend, they're going to get eaten alive.
But that's it doesn't matter what offense you're running. If you can't protect and you can't win the cadence, it's not going to work.
Are you comfortable with, like, it was just a messy game, the weather?
Oh, yeah. No, I am.
It's not an actual problem, right?
No, I don't think it's a problem. I'm comfortable with it. To Aaron's point, the first three games, they were totally fine.
He did play in Green Bay where they play outdoors in the snow and in bad weather.
Was an offender of it as well. So I don't think that's an issue for them, but they have to use it as a strength this weekend.
Rodgers has a 76 QBR in his career against the blitz. We're just getting started on NFL Live. We got more in store on this Vikings-Jets matchup. The fellas.
So that is quite the stat. Really good career-wise against the blitz, right? But they said the same sort of things against, for CJ Stroud. He's so good against the blitz, but it's just a different animal. I know that Aaron Rodgers has the processing speed, which is definitely my biggest concern. But I'm not fazed the way that this defense is playing. And my biggest factor, I guess you could say, the last thing I'm going to talk about is I think what's going to give us the edge. Let's move on to the facility. If before we go into it, if you guys haven't been watching the facility, it replaced Undisputed, if I'm not mistaken, after Skip got released and all that debacle, which I could care less about. But Emmanuel Acho and Shady, they're doing awesome in there. Is that, I forget. But either way, Chase Daniels there and Jones, I think is last. Either way, they're doing awesome. They are giving top-notch analysis and really, really good sports commentary. So I want to pull up their clip where they covered the Jets Vikings.
Vikings defense, top 5. Vikings offense, top 5. James, you played with Aaron Rodgers. When his back is against the wall, he says things like,
James
relax.
Jones.
When his back is against the wall, he says things like, we're going to run the table. He went on to run the table. I think 2014, Andy, he says, relax. 2016, we're going to run the table. And he did both of those things. Aaron Rodgers' word is his bond.
He was a young man then, though.
Football field. So will Aaron Rodgers put an end to the Vikings' 4-0 start, put an end to the honeymoon phase? Will he do that in London?
Well, I hope he's telling the Jets something in that locker room to get this one done, because this one has to get done. I don't really know how I would feel.
They're going to need a lot more than motivation.
This game. And what I mean by that is, when Aaron Rodgers came over, I was one of the main ones playing with Aaron Rodgers for so long, knowing how good Aaron Rodgers is. This is a playoff team. They have punched their ticket to the playoffs. They will have a chance. I seen you against the Niners not look good, get beat down. The Niners are supposed to be a good team, going to be one of the teams in the NFC playoffs to compete, right? Then I seen you run off 2 games against average teams, right? The Tennessee Titans, the Patriots. Then I see you play another average team in the Broncos, and you lose a game 10-9. So now I know you can lose to the good teams, and I know you ain't just ready to dominate the bad teams. Now you have another good team. If you cannot beat the Niners or the Vikings, I can't think you're going to beat the Bills or the Texans or Patty Mahomes. I can't believe that. And to be honest with you, I don't think that they can believe that in the locker room. I think this game means so much for the New York Jets and Aaron Rodgers. If they can get this one done, I think it changes the way they view each other in the locker room, the team camaraderie, all that we can be a good football team. And if we play like this against good football teams, this is the outcome. They need one of those games. And they need one of those games from him.
Yeah.
But they need that.
But you didn't,
He needs to be.
I did.
Do you think they're going to win or not?
He needs to turn back the time. Turn back the clock.
That was a question, right?
That is a question. You know what I mean?
You don't answer questions around here.
I'm holding it in.
What's all this? Who and I?
Man, the Vikings is good. The Jets ain't playing good right now. But I'm a believer in AR8, man. I'm a believer in 8. They win. They win.
All right. Okay. All right. Thank you.
There we go. At least he's honest about it. He's going just on hopes.
I don't think that Aaron Rodgers will end the Vikings season, because I think the Vikings are a better team all around. I think Aaron Rodgers, he's a good quarterback. Like
Chase Daniels.
Elite. But right now, in this season,
Chase,
Sam Darnold is playing better than Aaron Rodgers. Sam Darnold is probably in the top 3 MVP voting right now because he's a quarterback that leads the NFL in touchdowns. He's on the best team, other than record-wise, than the Chiefs, you would say. He's the best team in the NFC. So, look, if the Jets were to win this game, I do think it's going to come down directly to Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, you got to show me stuff that you showed me against these bad teams. Because like James said, you didn't do it against the good team in the 49ers. Okay, the Vikings in that defensive scheme by Brian Flores, they're elite.
Yeah.
But you know what they're not elite at? Defending the pass. They're last in pass yards per game in the NFL. So, Aaron Rodgers, you have to use your right arm to win the football game. You can't turn the football over. You can't do that. The Vikings' whole season is get out to big leads, play defense. Get out to big leads, play defense. That's why they're last in passing yards. Aaron Rodgers, you got to throw the ball from the jump to get this thing going.
Chase Daniels. There he goes. Doesn't believe that A-Rod's going to do it and the Vikings win, but he says that's the way it's going to go. And it's funny that he uses that stat that our defense is allowing the most yards. And it's a little bit deceiving of a stat because we've struggled to play with the lead. We've given up a lot of points in garbage time, and while trying to develop the skill set, essentially, of winning in the postseason, because that's really what it is. You know, honing that ability to be consistent at late into games and taking control in key certain spots, so that the game doesn't get out of hand. That way, the play calling stays relatively consistent the entire game and never really drops into this super conservative where you're going to allow a lot of passes underneath so you're not giving up the big play. Because if you give up that big play and it's like 3 minutes into the second half and all of a sudden they just went, 3 plays, a minute and a half to put 7 points up, at that point, they just have more, the probabilities of you winning just go down. Right. So they did a really good job against those teams at maintaining control. And when we needed to, putting up points, having really good drives to kind of seal the deal at the end. On top of our defense has come up huge in those desperation moments. We're a really, really savvy team, and we're hungry. They're just looking, and they're very opportunistic is the best way to say it. Late in those games when they know that getting to the point where the quarterback has to take chances, and they're coming away with some nice interceptions late in the game, as well as some forced turnovers. So I think it's a little bit of a deceiving stats for Jets fans to kind of hang their head on. Oh, if they can only just throw for 400, 500 yards, we're going to win. Of course, if any team can do that. But at the same time, the way that those yards are put up on our team weren't like close games where both teams were just throwing, putting up a ton of yards. The defenses were not able to stop anything, and it was just an all-out shootout. That hasn't been the way that our games have gone. We have a 14.8 or 14.5 points allowed points against. So I feel like it's a little bit funny to use that stat as an argument.
Yeah, they not stopping nothing over there. It's so funny because I always gotta answer questions to fans like, man, is the NFL rigged? And like stuff like this, like a guy like Sam Darnold can potentially win the MVP.
Conspiracy theory
and I
about
gotta
that.
answer if the league is rigged or not. You know what I'm saying? Like, think about that for a second.
How hard
Listen,
it would be.
man, I don't think they're gonna win this game, but I think A-Rod, like, one thing about being really, really good, like you're always trying to compete against the next opposition, right? If it's this running back on the other team, I'm always going against him. And I look at Aaron Rodgers about to go against Sam Darnold. Just to think that Sam Darnold can beat Aaron Rodgers?
Or outplay him.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Like who?
Yeah.
I don't care what type of year he's having or what type of, I don't care about none of that.
Yeah.
Think about this for a second, though.
Thinking.
At least he's honest.
Sam Darnold is playing better than Aaron Rodgers. That don't go well with me. So I am making that challenge. I need A-Rod to come on, man. Like I know you having a good year, Sam, but dog, you are Sam, and I am A-Rod.
Coming back up. See, the defender is going to tell you a lie, but Aaron Rodgers, can you spot which defenders are lying? Because Brian Flores' defense, they lie a lot. Right now, who is lying? You don't necessarily know, but I'll tell you ahead of time. These two players that are mugged up are lying. How do you know they're lying and how do you know they're not coming? Because these two safeties would not be structured in a too high look if those linebackers were coming, because there's not a defensive coverage where you can have these two players coming and these two safeties sitting in too high. Aaron Rodgers, you're going to have to spot the liar. Okay, I just told y'all these two players, they're not actually coming. So what are they doing? They're lying to you. They're going to drop into coverage. They're inevitably going to get into a cover two look. See, Jordan Love on this play, he couldn't spot the liar. As a result, Kamu Grieger-Hill, he spotted an interception, taking that one back the other way. But Aaron Rodgers, can you, before the snap, can you identify the liar? Can you, before the snap, can you say to yourself what you've done so many times throughout the course of your career? Wait a second, I got too high safety look. If there's a too high safety look, clearly they're not bringing this 6 players. They're only going to end up bringing 4 players. If they're only going to bring 4 players with the too high safety look, I'm probably going to get cover 2. As a result, I'm not going to throw that ball. Can you spot the liar? If Rodgers can spot the liar, I think they can win the game. But Brian Flores, defensive players, all they do is lie. Can he spot it?
If that section of the facility or this clip doesn't make you want to watch this show, that he did such a great job of explaining this at a very easy to understand way, on top of the conversations that they have on this show, is incredible. So you got to check this show. I'm pretty sure it plays Skip Bayless and Undisputed. Excellent football conversations over there. But that breakdown just goes back to my concern that I've had from the beginning with this game, is that Aaron Rodgers is hypothetically one of the few quarterbacks in this league that can think fast enough and process the defense and what's going on post snap than anyone. He's been doing it for a long time. He's a 40-year-old man. He's seen just about everything. He's seen Brian Flores' defense back in 2018. He is crafty. Don't get it twisted. That man has a deep bag. So that's definitely a concern. Let's continue.
That was awesome.
My dog.
Just that was
It
next
was.
level.
It was awesome.
So, but now I have a question for you because I got all these questions. You show me spot the liar. That's what Aaron Rodgers does so well in his career. He is the best to do it. And Brian Flores, they disguise. Do you want to see them disguise, or do you want to see him just play it so he doesn't even have to spot the liar? So they're in good technique.
If you got the #1 defense as it pertains to interceptions, which the Vikings do, you've picked off Stroud twice. You've picked off Love twice. Three times. You picked off Purdy once. So you've picked off those 3 quarterbacks, 3 top 10, top 12 quarterbacks in football, a collective 6 times. Do what you do. Okay, do what you do.
Don't
Aaron Rodgers, you know what I'm saying? Like, exactly right. Like,
I like it.
Shady knows.
Yeah,
If you
keep
make
doing
a
what we're doing.
motion,
Exactly.
I'm gonna do what I do. Patrick Willis, you're gonna have to see if you can see me.
100%.
Keekly, you're gonna have to see if you can see me. But if I'm the best at what I do,
So keep it rolling.
Keep
I like
it
it.
rolling.
I like it. I like it.
Amazing point.
I feel like every
That's
team
exactly
does
what
that.
our defense
When you
is
lose, when
doing.
you try to adjust to somebody
He's
else.
not the boogeyman anymore.
Because we the hunter. We're not the hunted.
He's
James,
becoming,
let me
he's
ask you this because you played with Aaron
he's
Rodgers.
becoming the
You talked
boogeyman
about it,
again, I
Chase,
guess
y'all
we could
talked
say.
about it.
I still believe he
The
can play
Jets
really well.
team is very stagnant offensively. Stagnation helps me as a defense.
No question.
Because the defensively, and they say this, maybe the most important defensive note you'll ever hear, defensive coordinators or football coaches, high school that are watching it, powder puff coaches, whatever, write this down. Never let the skies put you out of position. Never let the skies put you out of
Man, he
position.
got some
Simply
real.
put,
Man, this guy.
if I am disguising,
This guy
like
should
I'm
be
blitzing,
called Bar.
but I
His
have Shady
team,
McCoy
this show should
out
have
and he's
something
flexed out
with
wide,
bars in it because that's all he's
Don't let
dropping.
the skies put you out of position. But if an offense is stagnant, the skies will unlikely put you out of position because you know where they are. So the Jets being as stagnant as their offense is, no pre-snap motion, no pre-snap movement, can Aaron Rodgers, because they're not stressing the defense out by motion, can Aaron Rodgers find a way to win?
That's why this game is going to be interesting, to be honest with you, because every quarterback is not special like Aaron at the line of scrimmage, right? Like, you get into all these motions and these bunch formations and all that for these other quarterbacks because I want you to know where the first read is going, and I want you to see what's open. I want you to see what coverage they're in. Aaron Rodgers sometimes, hey, easy, don't move, don't motion. I see what they in. I'm going to get you to the right signal. I'm going to get you. So that's why this game is going to be interesting to me, because if Brian Flores does start doing all that, I promise you right now, Aaron is going to have a bunch of checks for what he is doing to get the ball out of his hands fast, whether it's some double moves, no man-to-man coverage is coming, he's going to do that. So with Aaron Rodgers, I don't truly feel like you need a bunch of movement because he's so special at changing it at the line of scrimmage. I don't think a lot of these other quarterbacks are special at changing stuff at the line of scrimmage. So if I'm Cal Shanahan, let me get these motions, these bunch. Purdy, you see it. It's man, he running with him. Purdy, you see it. It's cover 3. So that's what helps them. With Aaron Rodgers, I've been around this game forever. I'm going to get into the right play.
Incredible points there. I think that a lot of those really are things that we should be thinking about as Vikings fans. And let's finish off with one last clip that it's going to be a nice clip on the up note, a little positive clip here. This one's from First Take. It's really nice to see Stephen A. Smith do that 180. I think it was like 2 weeks ago now, where before he was really doubting the Vikings. And now he's just on the bandwagon. He has made the realization, he's had the epiphany, or he's found the inside knowledge to corroborate what people are saying, similar to what Rich Eisen said on his show yesterday after actually being there and witnessing what it's like to be what the Vikings are doing. And he himself said that, and Rich Eisen said they're the real deal. So, a lot of good signs, a lot of good hearsay, anecdotal evidence that that we have what it takes. And so let's move on to this one so we can finish strong with a good one.
Signing more on Sunday, and we start with that bad man. Is he still that bad man? Rodgers was looking for a bounce-back game after a loss to the Broncos, and he's going up against Sam Darnold and the undefeated Vikings in London. Elle, starting with you, who's going to ball out more between, I can't believe I'm asking this, Rodgers and Darnold?
I know, this is a wild world that we're living in. I don't think either one of them is going to eat. These are two of the best defenses in the NFL, but I'm still going to give this one to Sam Darnold. Just take a look at the Broncos game alone last week. Vance Joseph blitzed Aaron Rodgers on
49% rather, of his dropbacks. We all know that a Brian Flores defense is going to do that ad nauseum. On top of that, I think that Sam Darnold has more weapons, as evidenced by Justin Jefferson being doubled on just about every single play last week. Jordan Addison was able to go off, and then you've got Aaron Jones as a great safety valve. And finally, guys, when it comes to the offensive minds, give me Kevin O'Connell over Nathaniel Hackett.
No, you're not going to denigrate Nathaniel Hackett on the show.
He is not a good play caller, and I know
So
it well.
embarrassing.
All right.
I just don't understand why it was necessary for L to take so long. All you have to do is say Nathaniel Hackett, and automatically you know Sam Darnold's going to have
Fair.
a done. It's really
Let's go
that
there.
simple. It's Nathaniel Hackett and Aaron Rodgers and the Jets' limited weapons on offense compared to that Minnesota defense that's leading in sacks, quarterback pressures, etc. So I'm looking at Brian Flores and what he's doing with that defense, and I'm saying it's going to be a difficult day for Aaron Rodgers. On the flip side to it, what is Robert Saleh going to do against Sam Darnold, believe it or not? I don't say Sam Darnold jokingly. I say it based on the way he's playing, having Justin Jefferson, having Addison back, and what have you. I'm just looking at the weapons that he has available to him, and I see the Minnesota Vikings and Sam Darnold having a better day.
Yeah, an understated aspect of this matchup is the offensive line for the Jets. Nobody's talking about the Morgan Moses injury. Olu Fashanu came in, and that led the way to the Denver Broncos hitting Aaron Rodgers 14 times and sacking him 5 times. 5 pre-snap penalties by that Jets offensive line with Aaron Rodgers was trying to use the cadence. They had a couple of more holding penalties. That offensive line is a sore spot, and the Minnesota Vikings defensive front is going to exploit it.
Exactly. Well said. Well said. It's nice to see network media starting to open their eyes and starts, using some common sense and some reasoning and looking at what's in front of them. Because, yeah, that's awesome. That's really, really good. And then I guess we'll finish off with what I think the deciding factor is. For me, nobody's really talking. I don't see anybody talking about it, but I think that the traveling is going to play a massive factor. Just like in my preview video, I said that it's going to mute both the offense and the defense, or special teams, like basically everything, right? Like jet lag is a real thing. It does affect everybody differently. Some more, some people more than others. Some people not at all. So there's going to be some players out there that are going to be just, roaring right off the bat. Maybe those guys are the guys that are going to be making the plays early to begin with. But I feel like it's going to add a layer of rust or maybe like fog. Because if you remember from last year's games, they were like slow starting. There was a lot, it took a while, and there were some upsets, and just some teams just didn't look quite right. And I think that's going to play a factor this week in this game. The unfamiliar sleeping arrangements, as well as the new practice facility, as well as a new field, is going to play a factor for both teams. The difference between our team, the Vikings and the Jets, is that our team has been on the same page this entire season so far. We've, it seems like they're just like a brotherhood out there. I don't know if you guys caught the interview on One Bar and Lopagus' show with, I keep forgetting. Jesus Christ. I have the worst freaking memory. I don't know why Kyrie Jackson's name is coming into mind, because I know it's not him. He's a special teamer that's injured right now. R.I.P. Kyrie, man. Yeah, that still hurts. Such a young kid, all the world in front of him, man. It's so sad. But either way, he was one of our injured players was on One Bar and Lupigas' show, and he was talking about what it was like when he came into the facility this year in the off season for rehab, and what he experienced there, the energy, the culture, the brotherhood that's cultivated there. Everybody's just so tight. It's like they're, for lack of a better way of saying it, it's like they're finishing each other's sentences. They're like, it's like they're thinking they know what they're going to do, and so they react properly. So a lot of that success has come from KOC's coaching decision to have a more difficult training camp and be more aggressive and be more physical. That has paid off to, there being very minimal rust to start the year. We've been on the same page, and that's been a big factor of our success, because when we were already at full speed, everybody was just getting their cleats on. So that's why we've been able to, steal a couple wins and just be looking much better and having less mistakes than other teams. That's why we're winning the turnover battle. That team, when it's muted or it's going to be dealing with jet lag, I think will bounce back faster. I think that it's going to be, they're not going to be great. They're going to be sluggish. There might be some issues with stall drives like we've seen in the first half of the London games last year. But overall, I think that they persevere, that once the jet lag starts to wear off like it did in the second half, and we start seeing more of a better game in the second half like last year, that the Vikings are going to set themselves apart. That brotherhood, that communication, that teamwork, that will shine and will be the thing that seals the deal, in my opinion. When you look at the Jets, they're going to be experiencing the exact same thing with jet lag and the traveling, but they're kind of dysfunctional right now. So on top of their dysfunction, they're going to be having to deal with being, sluggish and slow. And I think that's just going to exacerbate that dysfunction and just make it worse. And then as a result, we'll be able to capitalize, and we'll hopefully be, offensively speaking, banging on all cylinders faster than what the Jets can do. And that's why I think that's the biggest key factor here, in that ability, because we are playing like a juggernaut and we are such a well-oiled machine right now, we're just working on kinks. Like, this is crazy to be a Vikings fan and be 4 weeks into it, and we're really just, tweaking some things and trying to get into mid to late season form after right off the bat, not really after 4 weeks, right off the bat. So it's incredible to see. And I think that progress, that cohesion that our team is going off of, is going to be the deciding factor, because that's what's going to push us past the jet lag and everything. And it's going to actually make things worse for the Jets offense. That's why they're going to continue to be stale. That's why it's going to, it's going to be I feel like it's going to be a slow game to begin with, low scoring, a defensive matchup. I feel like both defenses are extremely talented. Their secondary is no joke. On paper, both defenses literally different philosophies and schemes when it comes to the way that they play defense. But regardless, they're on the same level. They are doing a lot of great things, and they are one of the top defenses for a reason, not only for the talent that they have, as well as the stats that they've been putting up. So, it's good. I feel like that's why that's what's going to really be the thing that holds each team together in the first half. That's why my prediction for the game, the score prediction, is going to be 23 for the Vikings and 10 for the Jets. I think the defense, again, just like the Broncos did last week, does more than enough to keep A-Rod uncomfortable while they shake it off. And by the time he starts kind of making things happen, it's already going to be too late, and we'll already have control of the game. But he still is Aaron Rodgers. He could, I don't even know, like, he's just really good. He just falls into the zone, and regardless of what it is, like, he's going to go out there and do incredible things. I just hope that since they're not into that mid-season to late season form yet, timing of the game is also going to be a big factor. We're going to get them before they're at their peak this year. So that's the reason why I think the Vikings are going to win, predominantly for a lot of the reasons that we saw in those clips that we went over. But I think when we look at the coaching, the advantage is very one-sided for us. Robert Saleh was, the cool new kid on the block a few years ago, but now, he might be on the hot seat, right? So the comparison between both coaching staffs is pretty evident that the Vikings have the advantage there. So when we look at the offense, based on what we've seen, they've been efficient. The errors that we've had hasn't lost us games like it did at the beginning of last year. So I think they continue to be a version of that, although muted due to the traveling. And I think it just will squeak out more. That's why I think it's going to be a low scoring game, 23-10. So I think the advantage goes to the offense because I think there's going to be a lot of work in progress going on with the Jets. But that the talent on from their quarterback can easily elevate them at any given time. So that's always a worry. But I still give the advantage to the Vikings offense. On defense, it's pretty even. But I think the schematic difference that Brian Flores brings to the table is the reason that I give us the advantage on defense as well, even though they're very, very similar when it comes to talent and production so far this year. But when you have Sam Darnold or our offense is continuously working against Brian Flores and their defense and OTAs in practice, you kind of get forged in a different kind of fire, right? No other team has that ability to put their own quarterback through the ringer if they so choose. And what's going on, Cox? Skoll, definitely. So I think that ability, the scheme, has only made this offense stronger, which is probably a big factor to why Sam Darnold is so comfortable under pressure. Because when you got Brian Flores sending the boys in practice, it's got to raise that level of anxiety, and Sam has been thriving in it so far. So I'm excited to see how that plays out. And all in all, I think the advantages on all three areas of the football, coaching, offense, and defense, it gives us that we have the advantage on top of the fact that they have their dysfunction, and the traveling is going to play a big factor in my opinion, is the reason why I think the Vikings are going to win and we have the edge. I would not be surprised if this game is very, very close. Hey, thanks, Cox, for really, really nice words, man. And yeah, I really try to do a good job of kind of trying to set this up for the first time, my first attempt at this style of live, and I really appreciate the encouraging words, and I'm definitely going to keep going, man. Thank you very much. But going back to it, the Vikings, I think, have the edge, and until proven otherwise, I still think that the Vikings are the best team in the league at this moment, even though the Chiefs are the Chiefs. They have some unique injuries that they're kind of having to figure out right now. So they're a little bit hobbled, where that might give us the edge. For me, I've been putting the Chiefs in my power rankings at number one all the way up until this week, just due to championship pedigree. For me, the Bills couldn't steal it, or any other top team, the Lions, because I started with the Lions and the 49ers and Chiefs in my top three. Chiefs, 49ers, Lions. And so all the teams out there, I'm wholeheartedly confident in this team. And if you guys got any questions or anything you guys want to talk about the Vikings this season, any areas of concern that you guys might have, that maybe my perspective or maybe that I've already thought about might help give you some clarity or maybe some insight or comfort going into this game. I think I've been pretty spot on with my assessment or my read with the Vikings this year. If you go back and look at my division prediction, I did a low end. I called it a realistic. No, I said my low end, my realistic, and then I did like a extremely optimistic record prediction, as well as a divisional record prediction. And I had originally, going into the season, put the Vikings at 9-8, exactly where the Packers are, because we're both up and coming teams that are developing into perennial playoff teams. Like, I'm not going to start believing the hype with the Packers just yet. I don't forget that the first few games of the season, they lost to the Raiders, the Broncos, right? So there's some learning and growing that's going on there that just like our team, I just think that we're a little bit ahead of them because we really started doing a lot of this last year, where last year they were just kind of thrown into the fire. And out of that fire, Jordan Love had a really, really good second half of the season, and which is why they have such a lot of hype behind them. And the fact that it's the Packers and people just trust that organization to develop a championship team. But I am not oblivious to the fact that they are still a young and up and coming team. They have shown at the beginning of the season that from game one that they're going to make errors, right? It was a sloppy game, and that drive at the end where Jordan Love extended until he got injured off that play, like a veteran quarterback might have thrown that away, or may have taken off for a small gain, done something different, maybe thrown the check down in order to stay healthy, because they also keep that in mind. But Jordan Love is a young player. He's proving to be a gunslinger. A lot of potential there. I think there's still a lot to go when it comes for his development. And and then we see what we saw in last week's game. A lot of errors to start the game. They were just not on the same page. And the Vikings capitalized and stomped on them. So a lot of growing pains. And just like I identify with teams like that, like ours, and the Packers, even the Jets, stuff like teams that are like really have a lot of new or making a big transition. There's a lot of growing pains. There's a lot of errors that are going to happen, unforced errors. Like last year, we led the league in unforced errors and turnovers and penalties through 4 weeks, and we basically lost a bunch of games that we probably could have won had we not made so many self-inflicting errors, right? So this year we're doing a lot less of that because we experienced all of that last year. The Packers, I think, are going to go through that a little bit more. I think we're a little bit further past that than they are. That's why I put them at the same record as us. When you're in that state of a football team, when you're still learning to become a playoff team or a perennial playoff team, there's going to be a lot of games where people are going to be scratching their heads and being like, how did we lose? How did they lose that game? There's going to be a lot of games where people are like, how did they win that game? And that's like a big telltale sign that these teams are still in the thick of learning and growing into that team that we want them to become. Like I'm not oblivious to the fact that that's what we're at right now. We're overachieving. But for me, what we're doing in a transitionary year with a reclamation project at Sam, that for me, after 4 games has shown that he has done a lot to change his outlook on football, the way that he plays, and I think he's the real deal. I no longer have any worries when it comes to Sam Darnold. I know he's going to have some lows. There's going to be some really, really ugly plays. We've already seen a couple of them, that botched accidental, almost like when he almost hit Aaron Jones and then like had to like toss it over the defender, and then it was just a kerfuffle, or that underhand pass that bounced off of Aaron Jones's fingers and ended up counting as an incomplete pass. Thank God. We're going to see a lot of that still to come, right? So we're going to have some lows. We might have one of those head scratchers. Freaking the Colts might come, might lose to something like that, right? We might lose to a game where we should win, and that's just a telltale sign of where we're at. And it's actually a good indication that we're in the right direction, right? Because if we weren't, we wouldn't be experiencing that. Like, that would be the least of our problems. We'd be worried about cohesion, penalties. We would have holes in different areas. Some players would be lagging, right? Like we were last year in defense, where we were doing the best we could with the quality roster that we had. After last year, we only have, if I'm not mistaken, Hitman Harry and Metellus are the only starting right now. Yeah, I think Blackman was on no. Either way, Byron Murphy too, that are still playing. And then there was a Caleb Evans, right? He's the only other player that's still on our team from that defense. And a Caleb Evans doesn't play, and Metellus and Hitman Harry were some of the best players on that, right? And Byron Murphy is, doing his best. I don't want to say he's like the worst player on our defense, but he's still a work in progress. He's still young. He's still doing things to get better. And for having a young guy like that being our considered worst defensive player is a good problem to have. And so I think there's nothing to worry about. Yeah, it's a good time to be a Vikings fan. And yeah, if we got any more questions or comments, we'll go over them, or any concerns going into this game. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the coverage, and kind of I did want to do a good job, or I want to start highlighting like unsung heroes. I want to say like teams or players that aren't getting the coverage or the love that they should be getting. Because there's a lot of that in media where it's just the same few teams over and over again, the same narratives. It's always positioned the exact same way. The Broncos beat the Jets last week, and it's always like, oh, the Jets definitely threw this game. It wasn't that the Broncos did enough or were impressive, or they don't really give any credit to them, right? So that's why I want to take some time whenever I do my Saturday football talks, or pregame lives, to kind of take a moment to talk about these players, because there's a lot of freaking really good players that are emerging right now, and people need to be aware. And if you are aware and you get to see some of these guys play, like, man, there is some really, really good football to be watched. I just started watching college football today. Today was my first day watching college football, and I saw a ton. I had like 5 different games on at once, and the thing that I noticed, I had so much fun watching football again. There was like zero stress, because I just picked my team. I picked with something really close. I picked Michigan because they're right in my backyard, and they are a good team, and they have I just want to choose a team that I could go tailgate and have fun being at, because being so far from Minnesota, it is difficult and more expensive to go. But here, I don't have to worry about lodging. I'm an hour away. I can just worry about the food and the tickets and souvenirs and jerseys and stuff like that. And then I can just go home. I don't spend an extra $600 on lodging, which is insane. Hotel costs can be crazy. But the thing that I thought had the most fun about college football was that I had so much fun just watching all these. Oh man, Georgia's putting a spanking on Auburn right now. And I do know that Auburn was good or is good, or either way, that's crazy. But I had a lot of fun just kind of watching everybody, not knowing any teams and or players' names, and just enjoying it. And there's a lot of good good players throughout the NFL that if people watched, you'd be so happy watching some of these teams play, or at least the highlights, or some of these players, man, because they are doing special things out there. And yeah, I guess that will bring us to the end of the live stream. And please like and subscribe. If I'm so bad at reminding people to do to like and subscribe, please. I'm trying to grow, of course, and as you can tell, this is my second one, so there's still a lot of rough edges around the corner. But Norcius, I want the red pill, my friend. I am I'm a Vikings believer through and through. I took the red pill. But anyways, yeah. Please like and subscribe. I need to get really better. Hopefully, I will continue to hone this craft. I'm hoping to have my studio up and running. I want to do some casting, some play-by-play, some color commentary for live games. I just re-upped a Sunday ticket, so I can actually have uninterrupted, because you know what it's like with the delays or with the streams going down. So that could be a real pain in the butt when trying to cast games. So I'm hoping take both at the same time. It makes there. Is that why? Dude, that is like 40 is that why you did that? For your avatar with the red and blue, because it makes purple? Because that is like levels. Those are bars on bars on bars. That's sick, dude. That is sick. It does. That's awesome. But yeah, Norris, man, how are you feeling about this game? I'm like, you know that I don't know if you played competitive sports, but like I played a competitive soccer. I'm Latino, Hispanic, as you can tell. So playing soccer kind of came naturally to me. And then, like, summer after grade 6, my dad took me to El Salvador, and I played with my cousins a few times, and they literally mopped the floor with me. And so after that, I came back, and I just started just owning everybody. I was like leading the league in scoring. I moved, played travel. But when you're preparing for like a tournament or something like that, there'd be games where I'd just be like, man, we're playing a really good team. This is this is going to take everything that we have to win this game. I'd have like this like anxious nervousness. Like, I know I'm going to perform well, but like, it's going to come to the end, you know, like we may not win this. Right. And that kind of like scary nervousness. I don't have that when it comes to when I think about the New York Jets. Holy crap. Dude, you're a much better athlete than I am. I was like, holy crap. Like after that, I became more of like an Olympic lifter, power lifter. Like I was a personal trainer for almost a decade. So I really got into heavy lifting, benching. Like, oh man, I just love lifting heavy things. I don't know why it is. My personal best on the NFL combine bench test was 19 reps. Not bad for I think it was 205 at the time, like between 205 and 210. Not bad, like receiver kind of size to bust out 19. I should do that again. I'm like way bigger now. I should do that again. I wonder if I could start hitting like linebacker numbers, because now I'm like bigger. I'm like been lifting for a while, and I'm like 245. I fluctuate from like 245 to like 265. I put on a lot of muscle over the years. I got freaking big legs. And I love benching. Sorry, I could talk about fitness and lifting weights forever, man. I just love deadlifting and squatting heavy ass. Either way, anyways, my confidence or my nerves for this game is like when I prepare for like a game that I just knew that I was going to go off on. You know that feeling, Norris, where you're just like, I just know. I just want the game to be there. I just want to close my eyes, wake up, get in the car, go to the game, and just destroy. Like that kind of nervous, like happiness is what I feel going into these games. It's insane how awesome of a team we've built. We've quietly taken that money that we were spending on Kirk, and we have picked up all these incredible Brian Flores guys like Van Ginkel that's come in and is leading through example on how to be a Brian Flores guy, how to play like him. And he's definitely brought guys over that buy into the system and are capable of doing the things that he wants them to do. And that's a dangerous combination, especially going forward, because he's only going to get better players. We have the draft coming up next year, and then we have another offseason. So every year we're just going to get better, you know? So on top of any, like, just Cam's been lights out in free agency, and I wouldn't put it past him for a good trade if it were to come up. Like, he's opportunistic that way. He really goes through the pros and cons of some trades. Like, a lot of people were really upset when he moved on from Danielle Hunter, right? Like, but I don't know about you, but I remember what it was like when Danielle Hunter didn't show up in games or didn't show up in situations in crucial like third and shorts or late in games where we really needed to come up with a stop, because we were so one-dimensional when it came to our pass rush. He really was our elite pass rusher, and everybody else just did the best they could. Like DJ Wanham had a couple good sides, but like nobody was on that level, so they never really had to game plan for anybody else but Daniil. And oh man, there was just so many games where this teams just did so good at like scheming him out or just running away from him and just throwing the pass before he could get there. And I just knew we had all that footage on them, so that when we played them against the Texans, I was like, are you kidding me? We already know the secret on how to stop them. And it continues to happen for the Texans, because I've seen a couple highlights or some titles to YouTube videos where they're questioning, their pass rush, that's something that you have to deal with when you have a pass rusher like Daniil Hunter. Some days he's very much a feast or famine type player. Some days he'll rack up a bunch of sacks and then he'll go a game or two and not get anything, or get like just a couple pressures. And it's just like, what are you doing out there? Especially, it was so frustrating when we really needed something to happen really needed a big stop late in the game for us to have a chance of coming back, and it just wouldn't happen. So now we got young guys, different guys that literally the rush is so evenly spread. Like everybody's eating, man. Like Patrick Jones, Tillery, freaking Old Faithful, freaking Harrison Phillips, freaking Grenard. These guys, it's so nice to just not look at one guy on the pass rush and just be like hoping and praying this is the play that he actually blows up the left tackle or the whatever and gets home and strip something. We'd get desperate in those situations. We'd be like, man, Daniil, just get to the quarterback, strip sack. We need a strip sack right now. We need you to then pick it up and score, because it's bad, man. And it wouldn't happen. And I'm so happy that we don't have that on defense. Our linebackers are lights out. We have some unique strengths with our run defense with pace, but we've also got some really good strength with Grugier Hill, which is more of like a coverage linebacker. He's come up with some huge interceptions in the last 2 weeks in place of the injured Ivan Pace. So there is just so many good things to talk about when it comes to this game or this team, and so many things that gives me confidence. I honestly think that, albeit the slow start due to the jet lag and the traveling, I think we just come out of that fog or that rust way quicker than the Jets do, and it is the difference. And we just get on both offense and defense, and we just kind of hit that second gear before the Jets do. And when they do, it'll be too late, and it'll be garbage time. And hopefully our clock management keeps going up in an upward trend like it has been over the last couple of years, and we seal the deal off with another clock management win at the very end, with them forcing them to waste their times out, and then us, in victory formation at the end. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the live. Please like and subscribe. Mr. Norsefius, it was a pleasure seeing you. No more deadlifts. Man, I love deadlifts. I don't know why. Even when sometimes after you pick up a ton of weight and you feel a little like lightheaded, or you got to drop to one knee, because I don't know about you, but I have definitely fainted while deadlifting. I think anybody that really pushes your personal bests or some heavy PRs has definitely done the same. But yeah, I don't blame you. Deadlifts are also painful. So hopefully, with all that being said, man, Norse, I hope you're having a great day, and I hope that you have a good night. And Skol Vikings, we got this, boys. Don't doubt in this team, man. This team is coming for you. You guys just know. For all you guys that aren't Vikings fans that dropped in here, no. I know you wish you had a team as good as ours. Later, guys.